Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Pashacharesha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today is the disappearance day of Sanatana Gosvami. He is the elder brother of Rupa Goswami, part of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and we will hear about his life and how he was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will be reading from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which summarizes actually the last chapters of Madhya Lila. I mean, about Sanatana Goswami, the last chapters of Madhya Lila, beginning with chapter 20. In chapter 19, we find the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami. And then beginning in chapter 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 and 5, it's all instructions to Sanatana Goswami. They met in Varanasi, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 2 months was instructing them. We'll summarize, because it's we don't have time to read everything. So let me read the introductory verse. Srila Prabhupada also quotes that in teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, many times, most times, in the beginning of the chapters, he summarizes some kind of invocation, sometimes summarizes the whole subject matter of the chapter, or he expresses some aspiration to receive the mercy of the Lord, or praises the Lord, like in this case. And these verses are always in Sanskrit. Just the first verse is in Sanskrit, and the rest, of course, is in Bengali. So, Vande Nantat Bhutaishvaryam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopi Yat Prasadat Syat Bhakti Shastra Pravartakaha. This is chapter 2, teaching of Lord Chaitanya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a person in the lowest form of life can find direction in transcendental devotional service to the Lord. Yes. You got that?
Yes.
Is it Bulgarian or
English?
English, okay. Well, so that's the introductory verse, and then Srila Prabhupada summarizes this Madhya Lila chapter. So, after Lord Chaitanya had accepted sannyas, he began his traveling all over India. And he also came to a place called Malda in Bengal, and there is a village, Ramakeli, who later became Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. They lived there, and their names were Dabir Khas and Shakara Malik, which are actually Muslim names, because they were employed as ministers in the Muslim government. But originally they were actually members of the Sarasvat Brahmana community, but they had been rejected, ostracized, because of becoming subservients of the Muslim ruler, the Nawab Hussain Shah. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came there, they approached him and offered dandavat obeisances and took shelter of his lotus feet. So but they were still in the government service. So then Rupa Goswami, he was the first one to give up that service, and he distributed his accumulated wealth according to the system that, well, he may have introduced it, but that's the system we understand. 50% was given to the service of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and the Lord. Then 25% was given to family members, and 25% were kept as emergency, in case of emergency, which in the material world is very frequent. And nowadays you may become sick and have to get medical treatment. If you don't have any money, depending where you live, you're just going to die like a dog. Yes, nobody cares. In some countries, especially Western Europe, there is a basic treatment for everybody. But as I find, even not in America, if you don't have a medical insurance, you're really out of luck. So definitely in India, there's this kind of social security doesn't exist. Not even if you become old, you don't get a pension. If you don't have, but they have family, so therefore they survive. Otherwise you're dying on the street. So therefore 25% that's legitimate, you can keep as emergency of your wealth. So Prabhupada says, such distribution of personal wealth is very instructive for all who desire to be elevated in spiritual knowledge. Not that you keep 90% and give 10%. I'm very generous for the service of the Lord. Yes. Or even 1%, let's say you are a multimillionaire, $100 million, and I give, what is 1%? 100,000, right?
10,000.
1% is 10,000 from 100 million?
Oh, from 100 million?
That's right, 100 million. Yeah, a rich man, not 1 million. No, 100 million. 1% should be...
1 million?
Right. So, that's right. I was always bad in mathematics. Never liked it. But I should know from 100% right. 1% is 1 million. So that seems to be a lot of money, right? If you receive a donation of 1 million euros or dollars, you say, wow, incredible. But then you find out he has 100 million. So he's keeping 99 million for himself. Well, you may still be very thankful. But Krishna said, come on, what's going on, you're keeping 99 million and you give me 1. It looks big, but it's really small-minded. It's like somebody has 100 euros and gives you 1 euro. Or is it 1,000 euro, what is it? 100 euros? No, 10. 1% is 10. Oh, yes, now I start to remember mathematics. So if, let's say 1,000 euros could be like a salary of you're not very rich. But if you give from 1,000 euros, 10 euros, that's not much. Huh? If you give from 1,100, yeah, well, it's 10%, it's quite, anyway, it's bigger. So that would mean if you have 100 million, what, 10 million, no? Right, anyway, so the point is, the distribution according to Rupa Goswami is 50%, not 1, not 10. So from the 100 million, you should give 50 million. Wow. And then 25 million for family members. Wow, you can keep 25, which is actually more than you need. You should give also 24 again to the devotees and keep 1 million just in case. So it's all relative. It's all relative. So, okay. Yes, Prabhupada, he emphasizes this here, that we should learn from Rupa Goswami's example. This should serve as an example for everyone, he says. So, and he was a businessman. He says the 25% he kept for his personal emergencies, he deposited with a good business firm, because there was no banks at the time. So he gave it to some merchant or somebody who was dealing with business and who was able to maybe even increase it a little bit by investing and using it. Anyway, but then Sanatana Gosvami, he also wanted to renounce, but the Nawab was not agreeing, because Sanatana Gosvami was like the prime minister. He was taking care of the government when the Nawab was enjoying life, on excursions like hunting or attacking another country so he wasn't there to govern. So Sanatana Goswami was taking care. So when he was just suddenly not coming, then what has happened to Sanatana? Well, he says he's sick. And then the Nawab went to his home, but he was not sick. He was studying Vedic scriptures with some brahmanas. So he threw him into jail. He jailed him. And then Rupa Goswami arranged for some money, that was the emergency money, to give to, or to be able to give to Sanatana Goswami so he could get out of jail. He bribed the jailkeeper. He gave him 7,000 gold coins. I mean, that's a lot of money now. He offered first 5,000, and materialistic people, I'm not sure whether I can release you for 5,000. So he put it more, 7,000, okay, and he let him go. So he escaped. Sanatana Goswami escaped from prison, and then he went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. And he went through the jungles. He actually became quite sick. And that's the whole story. And then he finally came to Varanasi, Benares. And there he was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then now we can go, today is his disappearance day, so we can go to chapter 20 of Madhya Lila, which is the instructions of Sanatana Goswami by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the science of the absolute truth. And everything begins in about verse number 90. Sanatana Goswami approaches the Lord and he presents himself in a certain way. Oh, wait a minute. This is 20. Should be 20, yeah. 20. So this is the famous point where Sanatana Goswami puts a straw in his mouth. We have a painting. And he prostrates himself before the Lord, takes his lotus feet, and then speaks some famous words. Nicha jati, nicha sangi, patita adama, kuvishaya kupe pari goainu janama. I was born in a low family, and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen, and I am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life fallen in the well of sinful materialism. And then, Prabhupada explains, of course, in the purport that actually Sanatana Goswami was part of the Sarasvat Brahmana family. He was well cultured, well educated. He spoke several languages. He was very learned. But he had become a minister in the Muslim government. Even though he was a minister, from the Brahmana's point of view, of Vedic society, he was rejected. He was low class, Nicha. So, therefore now he submits himself to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way. And then he continues to say that I'm ignorant. I do not know what is beneficial for me or what is detrimental, what is not beneficial. Nonetheless, in ordinary dealings, the people around me, they think I'm a learned scholar, a pandit. And that's the world. When everybody tells you you're a Pandit, even though you may not be, you think, yes, yes. Right? Yes, finally you recognize I was always thinking I was a Pandit, but now finally everybody understands. You know? So, then he says that out of your causeless mercy, the Lord, you have delivered me from the materialistic path. Now, by the same causeless mercy, please tell me what my duty is. It's like Arjuna. You remember, he was in that position. He recognized, I'm confused. I don't know some moha, not just moha. Moha is illusion. Some moha is like really an illusion, strong illusion, and I don't know what I should do. What shall I do? What is my duty? So, same position, we approach a superior spiritual authority to clear away doubts. So then he asks actually two questions, famous questions. Everybody should know these two questions, even in Bengali if possible. It's simple. Ke ami, only two words. Who am I? Yeah, ke ami. And kene amai jarata patrai. Why do I suffer the three miseries of material existence? It's adhyatmika, adibautika, adidaivika. You should know what this means. Yes, miseries coming from the own body and the mind. Nowadays, this is worse than the body. I mean, practically more than half of the world population suffers from mental anxieties, stress syndromes, and worse. Bipolar disorders, paranoia, schizophrenia. I mean, it's widespread. And they're not ending up in mental hospitals, because that's for the extreme cases. Most of them are living apparently a normal life, but they're very much disturbed mentally. So that's adhyatmika. Then adibautika, of course, other living entities give you trouble, and there's no end. There's 8,400,000 species, so a lot of them, mosquitoes, flies, snakes, dogs, crocodiles, you know, I mean, do we forget some important troublemaker? Depending where you live, like people go to Florida, wonderful, Florida. It's all, everything is, Florida means everything is blossoming. It's the flower, comes from flower. So, but there's alligators, and they sometimes end up in your garden. Yes, you may go for swimming, and you better turn out the light, because maybe overnight some alligator may have come into the swimming pool and is waiting for you to have his breakfast. So yes. Anyway, that's adibautika, and then adidaivika has become more and more prominent nowadays, troubled by just material nature. There's another hurricane just now in America, Barry. They always give him a name. Now it's Barry. Before it was Katrina, or wonderful names, Mary and Paul, and now it's Barry. No, Barry is barreling, that's an English expression. It's going right through, there's floods, people are dying, and if not, there's a volcano. You go to Hawaii, because Hawaii is another heaven on earth, right? Bauma Svarga. But there's volcanoes. So not long ago, the volcano spit out his lava, and it goes all the way to the nice mansions that are constructed where you also try to enjoy life next. So then you have earthquakes. Just now again, another big earthquake in California. Of course, that's the place. Everybody's enjoying California. And last year, those who were living next to the ocean, Malibu and all these places, had a huge fire, biggest fire in history, where people, famous actors and singers, lost their homes to the fire. They had to run. Many people died actually. There was one place called Paradise. I mean, no joke, huh? It was called Paradise, a little village, and it was completely burned down. And then there was the picture of the entrance, paradise, all burned up. So your paradise burns. That's material world. What have we have? Volcanoes, floods, hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, tsunami, of course, that may come. What else? Thunderstorms, lightnings, and hailstorms. There's no end. Now we have climate change. Now you live in Paris, suddenly it's almost 50 degrees. And you just bake to a crisp, like in an oven. Or then suddenly, because it's extreme weather, and in the winter it goes down to minus 50, and you just, you can't even go outside. As soon as you go outside, everything freezes. They tell people, don't be outside more than 1 minute, otherwise, your hands will fall off. And anyway, so that's Daivika. So this is the question: who am I? Who am I? First thing, and why do I suffer from this? And he says, if I don't get an answer, if I don't know this, then what's the benefit of my life? What kind of benefit do I have? I may become very rich. I may become the president of the most powerful country of the earth. I may become world famous as a famous actor. Or even better, rock star. They are more famous than actors generally. But if you don't know who you are and why you suffer, then what's the benefit of all this? You just die like a stupid, ignorant dog and hog sometime in the future. So, therefore, these are the essential questions. So then he also says, next verse, that actually I do not know how to inquire about the goal of life, what kind of questions to ask. So, being merciful upon me, please explain all these truths. Just like Arjuna simply said, well, I'm confused, please instruct me. So then it's up to the teacher to give the right instructions. And one just has to listen and receive it. And then when there's some doubt, one will ask questions, as Arjuna did. And Sanatana Gosvami also will do that. So then the answer that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives, we all know this, although you may not remember now, but you should know. What is the answer to the first question, Ke ami, who am I?
Eternal servant of Krishna.
That's right, and we should know the Bengali. Yes, Jiva Swarup. What is Jiva? Is the genitive of the Jiva, the Swarup, the real form is Krishna Nityadas, the servant, eternal servant of Krishna. So he said, yes, it is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. So that's that's from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gives an analogy. We hear many analogies to explain things. So our position is like a small particle of energy. The sun has sunshine. Now sun is up. We get the light, and it's composed. We cannot see that, of molecules. Like molecules we cannot see. Everything is from molecules, and even less molecules on several atoms combined together. So in Sanskrit it's called chit kshana. It's like a particle of chit, means energy, luminous spiritual energy. So that's our position. And the Lord is like the sun, or like the fire, or spark is also either a little particle of sunshine or a spark of fire. That's the explanation how we are. That's our position. So, so that's our position. We are like that. And then he says, that's all Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing Sanatana Gosvami, remember, just as the illumination of a fire, which is in one place, is spread all over, the energies of the Supreme Lord, Param Brahman, are spread all over the universe. And this is actually a verse coming from the Vishnu Purana. So, Krishna has three energies, basically. There are more, you can subdivide them in more categories. And so this is the spiritual potency, internal potency, Chit Shakti. Then you have the living entity, that's us, Jiva Shakti. And then you have the external, Maya Shakti, the external illusory energy. And everything is actually composed of that. There's nothing else. Then we know that Maya has covering potency and throwing potency. Atmika Shakti and Prashik, whatever Shakti. Long-term memory fails. So then, originally, Krishna's energy is spiritual. That's also logical because everything is coming from one source, which is the Supreme Lord, Parabrahman. Everything is Brahman, Salva Kalvidam Brahma. But, and the living entity is also spiritual. However, there's another energy called illusion, Maya, which consists of fruitive activity. So from that point of view, Maya is actually depending on our consciousness, right? As we say, our Prabhupada always used to say, the microphone, it becomes spiritual by being used to speak about Krishna, right? Or even a smartphone. It's possible to spiritualize a smartphone by using it to broadcast speaking about Krishna or singing about Krishna to the world. Even a computer can be used and become spiritualized by having the Lord's words within it. It's being transformed, practically speaking. Now, in 1 second, I can transform all this into Maya. Very easy. You just, go Google a certain web pages or YouTube videos and you're immersed in Maya. And then you can, if you switch over and again make it spiritual. So that's how, yes, this is how the Krishna's energy works. And we are in between. So we have a choice. We always have a choice. And if it's fruitive activity for my personal enjoyment, everything becomes Maya. Right. Okay, so then we have some more important instructions here. Let's see. So then there's this also famous Bengali verse, Prabhupada quotes it quite often. Krishna Bhuli, forgetting Krishna. Say jiva anadi bahimukha, ataeva maya taredeya sangsara dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial, anadi. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. So Prabhupada says, when the living entity forgets his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he is immediately entrapped by the illusory external energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vangsha, Jiva Loke. And therefore, actually, it is the superior energy of Krishna, because it's like Krishna quality, like the little spark or the sunshine particle. Sunshine particle is from quality not different from the sun, but it's not the sun. So he is endowed with inconceivable minute energy. That's us. We have actually inconceivable minute energy. We cannot even imagine, because it's spiritual. And it works inconceivably within the body. That we can understand. The body is a very miraculous machine. There's so many things going on. We cannot, even when you're a scientist and you study it in depth, like the cell, one single cell of a body. You know how many cells you have? You are big, you have more than me. An adult, fully grown adult has about, if I don't remember wrongly, about 100 trillion, not million, trillion. That means 100,000 million, I think, a trillion, or maybe it's more, depending where you live. Again, this mathematics. There's a billion and then the trillion. Maybe it's a million.
Trillion is 1,000 billion.
So that's a million.
1,000 million.
That's a billion.
10,000 million is trillion.
So there's 100 trillion.
No, I'm
100 trillion in your body.
Yes.
Small body, eh? Elephant has more, eh? Now, each single cell, it's like a factory. There's so many different parts that work together. Then it divides itself, it has all the DNA, all the information of genetics and all that stuff. So it's a whole, we can talk, whole discourse about cell. And they don't really understand how it works. They have some idea, but to really understand, there's so many things that the cell does, we just go, we are completely amazed. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, actually the soul is amazing. Nobody really understands the soul, because it's so amazing. Because everything works because of the soul, that little particle. If the soul goes out, the cells stop to work. No more division, no more, there's nothing going on. It's actually everything stops. So that's the living entity. So then the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in material energy. Then we are here. Just by forgetting Krishna, that's all, the whole reason. So then Srila Prabhupada continues to explain that the living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is in the material energy. Simple understanding. So, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues instructing Sanatana Gosvami. He says that in that material condition, the living entity sometimes is raised to higher planetary systems, can go to heaven if you want, and then you are very prosperous materially, very nice life, and sometimes you're drowned in a hellish condition. You become a worm in the stool. And he says, is exactly like a criminal, like in the past they had a punishment. You're put, submerged into water, and then they, just before you cannot, then they take you out. Then you can't, and when you recuperated a little bit, then they put you down again. So that's very big suffering condition. But that's actually the condition of the living entity. Sometimes it's up, prosperous, nice body, healthy, beautiful, very good education, become famous and rich and whatever you can imagine, and you're very happy. Good life is good. That's the conclusion then. Life is good. It's all good. No, I was just, in Czech summer camp. Somebody had shoes. Now they're selling a shoe. It's on the shoe. Huh? Everything is good. It's all good. So then, so that whenever you walk and you look at your shoes, you remember everything is good. Don't become depressed. It's all good. Just believe it. It's all good. So that's, of course, sometimes seems to be true. That's Maya. It looks like. But then next time, bang! Then you hit, or you're being submerged in the water and suffer. So an intelligent person will ask, like Sanatana Gosvami, why? Why am not always everything is good? And sometimes it's really bad. When it's really bad, how do I get out of this? Okay, so then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, let's see where the part comes. Yes, if the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. I mean, Maya is like a servant. And if she sees that somebody really wants to serve the Lord, she will not become an obstacle. She will actually give you up or even help you sometimes. She's not our enemy. She is also Krishna's servant. But if we continue to become defiant and competitor, then we're always slapped. That's her business. It's like in jail, you get slapped. You go against the government, another slap. You don't learn, another slap. That's like how it is. Then he says something very important, that the conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort. People, jnanis, try to do that. I mean, they don't think about Krishna, but they want to know the truth. You become a philosopher. You start to speculate. And you can speculate, pantastu koti shatavata sampragamyo, for millions of years. In the speed of the mind, you can think and think and think and think, and you cannot even get close to the light or luster coming from the two nails of Krishna's lotus feet. So, forget it. That's not the way. So by one's own effort, mental power, intelligence, you cannot become Krishna conscious. But out of his causeless mercy, Krishna compiles the Vedic literature and it supplements the Puranas. So the forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master and the super soul. Three work together to elevate us, to get us out of ignorance. Krishna himself, in form of Vyasadeva, compiles the Vedic literature. He gives us knowledge. Then the realized spiritual master will teach, and also the super soul in the heart is there to guide. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. And he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. So, let's see Prabhupada's purport, and the last thing we'll see. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and the super soul within the heart.
Когато забрави естествена позиция, живото естество може да...
So then Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and He is guiding the wanderings of the living entity. Then he says, as the Shaktya Veshavata Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literature. And externally, he appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. And then when one's Krishna consciousness is revived, then one is delivered from the material clutches. So therefore, the conditioned soul is helped in 3 ways by the Lord: scripture, spiritual master, and Paramatma in the heart. Then, let's see. The Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Sambandha. Then the living entity's understanding of this relationship and is acting accordingly is called Abhideya. And returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called Prayojana. So, okay, I think here we can stop. So this goes on, these instructions to Sanatana Gosvami. The remainder of the chapter 20, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will explain about Krishna, Krishna's beauty, the different forms of the Lord. That's all in chapter 21, 22, 3, 4, and 5. So anybody interested can read about Sanatana Goswami receiving instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's his day today, his disappearance. But everything starts with Atato Brahma Jigyasa, asking questions about, the real position of everything, myself, the world, the Lord, relationship, and in this way we become liberated. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
El sufrimiento que viene producto de las kleshas es ligado al karma o es independiente el karma de las kleshas? Digamos, el sufrimiento que uno puede tener en el mundo material.
Okay, so the suffering that we experience in the material world, is it due to karma? Well, in one sense, yes, as we have heard. The external energy is caused by fruitive activity. And then naturally, you say suffer. We can also say suffer or enjoy the consequences, depending on what kind of action it is. But, and that's also an important point, whether it's good karma or bad karma, it's karma. Yes, so everything ultimately is actually bad from a spiritual point of view, in the sense you remain in this world, whether to enjoy or to suffer. And even the so-called enjoyment doesn't last forever, so finally it's also a kind of suffering, because you're separated from Krishna. Therefore, in the beginning, Adi Lila, there is one verse where it's said that actually the idea of something is good, something is bad, it's an imagination, it's a mental concoction. And we can see that practically. What is good for somebody is bad for somebody else. Who decides what is good or what is bad? Right? If the bird can catch a worm, it's very good for the bird. But the worm, that's his death. So who says now, yeah, if you're a bird, then it's good. If you're a worm, it's bad. So, yes. Yeah. So, and even for human beings, we may think that, yes, I enjoy life and everything is nice, so it's good. Life is good. But you do it on the cost of other living entities, whether they are vegetables or animals or other human beings or whatever,
Других хора.
for your enjoyment, somebody else has to suffer or even die. Yeah. Yeah, people come to enjoy in a restaurant and they get, the best food, but the one who's on the table, on the plate, he has suffered to be killed. So anyway, so generally, if we experience suffering, it's definitely due to our own action. It doesn't come without any reason. There's always a cause. There's no causeless suffering. There's causeless mercy, but not. Yes, because actually one has to suffer. If you still get mercy despite of not deserving it, that's called causeless. Because one may think, I didn't really deserve that. According to karma, one would have to suffer. There's no end, basically, because we are committing. We have to act all the time, and whatever we do, there's a reaction. We go outside to pick a flower. On the way, who knows how many ants and other creatures we have crushed without knowing. Not we want to do that, but just by existing, you are harming other living entities. And that's all karma, even though you don't know. Ignorance is no excuse. So that's the problem. Yes, it's not only if you kill somebody on purpose, that's karma, and if you drive a car and kill, 10,000 insects on a long way, nothing happens. No, each insect, you are the cause of their death, you take the karma. So therefore the only solution is taking advantage of the causeless mercy of the Lord, who says, if you surrender unto me, then I will free you from all kinds of sinful reactions. Don't fear. That's the only way. Otherwise there's no other way. There's no other way. So that's the situation. But suffering is always indication of sinful reaction. And enjoyment is the indication of pious reaction to pious activity. Sometimes it appears that a demon or somebody who acts like a demon, non-devotee, very materialistic, but they have so much money, they may be very famous and they may be very attractive physically, so one may wonder, why this, rascals, he has all these advantages, and somebody else who may be a very humble person and doesn't do harm to anybody, they're always poor, nobody thinks about them, nobody knows them, they're not famous at all, and they may not even be very attractive, but they're considered a very nice person, and this other one is really a bad person. So how is it possible that the bad person has all these advantages, what we think, and the nice person is suffering from so many disadvantages? Well, that's due to past life. And the one who's now enjoying, he's burning away all his good reactions, just like somebody who has so much money in the bank. You take it all out and you go to Sunny Beach. Maybe after one day, it's all gone. Less than one day. If the car comes by who takes you for free to the casino, which includes so many other things, there's always some ladies waiting for you. So you can spend all the money you had taken out of the bank just an hour before, and after less than 1 hour, it's all gone. You lost it all by putting everything on the wrong color. You thought red is my favorite color, let me put my 10 million euros on red. And then the little thing goes on black. because somebody who is observing, oh, there's somebody put 10 million on red, let me push the little button. So the magnet is under the black one, and the thing will go poops to the black, and the 10 million go to the casino. So anyway, so yes, you may just burn away all your good karma in one life, and the next life you're in a suffering condition. And one who suffers now, he may be very pious, he will always do good for helping others, and he gets credit, and next life, now he can enjoy, go to sunny beach. Be careful, don't lose it all. But that's the, sometimes raised up, sometimes down. This is the material world. So intelligent person will say, this is not a very good idea. Let me get out of this completely. And if you're in connection with Krishna, then these up and downs don't exist. Yeah? That's then it's the eternal life and full of bliss and knowledge. That's all. Okay, so we stop here. Srila Sanatana Gosvami ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Sri Gauranitai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Have a good day.